Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending and signing up for our webinar today. We appreciate you all for attending. We thank you so much and greetings, greetings, greetings. Today we will be starting, rounding out Financial Literacy Month with our jump start to your business. So we have our panelists here ready to educate us on starting a new business. We would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. For just to let you know when you signed up that we will be taking pictures throughout the time that we will be having this webinar today. It is also recorded for future purposes. Please mute unless to minimize noise as well, unless you would like to ask a question during that time, because we will have time for question and answer. Please raise your hand so we can use those functions so we allow everyone time for their questions and comments, and everyone can be recognized and we can have an orderly fashion to muting and unmuting. Thank you so much. So why are we doing this? It is important to support Financial Literacy Month. This webinar is hosted in a collaboration of two chapters, Psi Psi Omega chapter serving Stafford and Fauquier counties, as well as Omicron Chi Omega chapter, which is serving the greater Prince William County in Virginia. Furthermore, the objectives for this webinar is to provide an inspiring new entrepreneurs to have an impactful information so that you can understand the basic steps to starting or to grow a business, financial aspects of business ownership, we all need that, growing your small business, and government contracting and small business certifications, and how that will help us to increase our funding and increase our businesses. Also, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we are an international Greek non-profit service organization. We were established by African-American women, founded in January 15, 1908 on the campus of Howard University and HBCU. We have nearly 320,000 members in over 1,000 chapters worldwide. We serve under the leadership of Danette Anthony Reed, who serves as our international president and CEO of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Our esteemed organization has been organized for 115 years. So thank you for you all attending again. One moment. All right. This organization, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, is dedicated to implementing international programs of service. For our 2020 to 2026 theme is Soaring to Greater Heights of Service and Sisterhood. The administration has 6 initiatives. Strengthening our sisterhood serves as the foundational initiative, and 5 program initiatives, which include empowering our families, building our economic wealth, enhance our environment, advocate for social justice, and uplift our local community. So without further ado, I want to pass it off to Dr. Christy Murray. As we look at the agenda, our next item on the agenda will be basics to starting a business. We will have the panelists, as well as panel discussions and Q&A, and then closing remarks. Dr. Christy Murray.
Thank you very much, Dr. Presley. Again, I am Dr. Christy Murray, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Educational Excellence Incorporated. I have a woman-owned small business certification with the Small Business Administration. And I also have a second business. It's called Invest in Others LLC. Both my businesses are similar but different in nature. The educational excellence is really focused on professional management, education training services. And my LLC, Invest in Others, is centered around college and career planning, helping individuals in pursuit of their higher education and their life beyond high school endeavors. So those are my two businesses. And so the experiences that I'll share from today are both experiences that I've had and also some experiences that I know other business owners have had that are in my networks and that we've shared some of our insights. So I'll certainly share some of the things that I've learned from other business owners as well. So we want to welcome you to today's webinar. So we thought, before we just jump into a panel discussion, it might make sense for us to give a little bit more on the basics to what is it to start a business. And let me know in the chat if you, I'm gonna just put a yes in the chat if you already have a small business, or if you have a business in general. It doesn't have to be a small business, but if you are a current entrepreneur or a business owner, could you let us know in the chat? Give us a yes in the chat so we can see if we have some existing business entrepreneurs here, which is great. I'm seeing some. And for those of you who are not, you're here because you're interested in becoming a entrepreneur potentially. So we want to welcome you, and we certainly want to share some insights with you that you can find beneficial. I do want to put out a disclaimer. Only general business information and insights will be shared today at this Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated event for this webinar. So we want to make sure that we're sharing general information, but please know that we are not legal experts and we are not tax advisors. And so we're not, we don't want to share what our capabilities are, but we certainly want to share insights. So to ensure that your business continues to get the information you need and that you're able to operate your business, we highly recommend that you seek out experts, legal experts, professional advice from others who can help you to make sure that you are operating your business with the best intent according to the laws in your states, counties, and on the federal level as appropriate. So I figured, why not start out with some basic small business facts? So many of these facts came from the Small Business Administration site, and I'm just going to rattle through them quick just to set the context for our discussion. 99.9% of businesses in the US are small businesses. Did you know that? That means there are 33.2 million small businesses in the United States. So most of them are small businesses. And small businesses employ over 61.7 million workers. 8 out of 10 small businesses have no employees. That means 27.1 million are run by single owner entities with no employees. More small businesses are owned by males than females in the United States. So that's roughly 43% are owned by females currently. And while that gap is starting to narrow, we certainly recognize that there are certainly opportunities to create more balance between male and female owned businesses. Also, 19.4% of small businesses are owned by minorities. Out of that 19%, 13.8 are Hispanic owned businesses. And surprisingly, veteran owned businesses represent the smallest amount of businesses, which is 6.4% in the US. So if you're a veteran or know those who are, there's some great opportunities there. Also, nearly 1 out of 4 businesses don't even have a website. Let me know if you identified as a business owner in the chat already. Let me know. Send me a yes. Put a yes in the chat if you actually have a website presence. I'm going to type yes because I know I do, but I'm encouraged and I hope that you do. I will tell you that in this increasingly digital age where websites are becoming easier to create and more affordable to maintain, there's still quite a few, almost 25% of businesses don't even have a good website presence, and I would even suggest an online presence in general with social media and those sort of opportunities. So something to think about. And then over 25% of businesses is conducted online. So if 25% is conducted online and 25% of businesses don't even have an online presence, that certainly highlights an opportunity to reach folks, particularly during COVID. This stat came out in 2021. But think about during COVID, where we really weren't having face-to-face contact much. What were the missed opportunities for those 25% businesses that didn't have a website or an online presence? All right. And then also, over 3/4 of shoppers visit a business's website before going to a physical location. I'm really bad about that now post COVID. I'm more likely to go online, Amazon Prime, and I have a love affair, for example, but I'm more likely to purchase online and to try to seek out business online or do research about a business online before I physically get in the car, burn gas, and go visit an entity. So something to think about. And then this last statistic is pretty interesting. 1 in 5 businesses fail within the first year, and 50% of those businesses fail within the first 5 years. So what we want to do is we want to share insights with you to help you to not be in that 25 or that 20% that fail within the first year, and certainly not the 50% of small businesses that fail within the first 5 years. Did you know that nearly half of businesses fail because due to a lack of market demand? Is there a market for what those businesses want to sell and produce? Some of them run out of capital. They don't have enough money to fund what they're doing. And if you're a business owner like me, I am an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. I work a 9 to 5, and I also am growing my own personal businesses in my personal time. So that might be your reality too. And as you're able to seek out more capital and funding, then maybe you can sunset your 9 to 5 job and focus primarily on your business. Also, I found it interesting that professional, scientific, and technical services industries have the highest failure rate. Scientific, technological, professional services. I could see partly with scientific and technical, technology is always changing. You have to keep pace, you have to be involved with R&D, and you have to have the capital in place to be able to keep pace with the demands from technological changes. I also found it was interesting that healthcare and social assistant industries have the highest survival rate. People are going to get sick, people want to get better, people need mental health care, social programs. Those kind of entities tend to do very well when it comes to small business ownership. So I shared those statistics with you to kind of set the stage for how do you think about the realities of your current small business or a potential small business endeavor if you're considering being a small business owner. How do you factor that into what you're doing? And I'm going to tell a little bit about my story as I share. But as I share, I'm going to hit 6 simple steps to starting a business. Now, there's a lot more steps, but in the interest of today's time we have for the webinar, I thought we would at least cover some of the basics with you. So I'm going to touch on how to identify your products and or services, conducting market research, choosing a business name and a business structure, creating a business plan, registering your business, and focusing on your infrastructure. And I can't underscore that last one enough. So the first thing, if you haven't established a business, but you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, the question I have is, what exactly do you want to sell? What's your product or your service? Have you given it much thought? What are you passionate about? I'll give you an example of how I was blessed. It's kind of a testimony, but how I was blessed to create a business. And I'm going to give the quick and dirty version. Back when I was in high school, I was in need of help finding scholarships. Long story short, my school counselor was able to help connect me with a scholarship. And because I had the system in place at home, I was able to quickly pull some information together and postmark a scholarship I had just heard about the day before. And I ended up getting that scholarship. And it ended up paying for me to go to Hampton University, major in electrical engineering. Yep. for 4 or 5 years actually. But I had a full scholarship, a summer internship when I graduated from high school, and a full-time job when I graduated from college, all before I walked across the high school stage. And I told myself in that moment, if ever given the opportunity to help other students to get more information on life beyond high school, to triage the student loan debt so that we don't have to create such financial burden with student loans, that I would make it my business to do so. And I ended up writing several books: college planning strategies I wish someone had told me, college funding strategies I wish someone had told me. But let me tell you how that came to be. My sons played football. I would sit outside on the football sidelines talking to parents every day. And I'm like, wow, these are educated parents with six-figure incomes, et cetera. How do we not know, what we need to do to take the SAT and how the scores are going to be used? All these basic things to college planning. So I put together a PowerPoint one day. And then I said, I'm saying the same things over and over again. So if you're thinking about what you do and what you do well, if you're sharing things with people over and over again, maybe you have something. People are interested. They keep asking you about the same things. Maybe you're onto something. So I put together a PowerPoint presentation. And then one day, I don't know who I told professionally on my 9 to 5, I was working in the federal government. And I told somebody that I was interested in writing a book. And one day I got an anonymous envelope in the mail at work about how to write your first book. I still don't know to this day who sent me that book. So that's when I decided I'm going to write a book. I came home and I'm having dinner with my sons. And I said, boys, I want to write a book. What should I write about? And my oldest son said, well, Mom, you're always helping people with their college planning endeavors. Why don't you write about that? In that moment, the light bulb came on. I have a niche. I have something bigger than me that can be helpful to other people. And there might be a demand for something, insight, information, services that I offer. So I created a book and a workbook. Therein lies the beginning of my business endeavors. So I marketed my books and my workbook products under my new business name. At the time, it was Invest in Others, LLC. And voila, I had a commodity. It was a tangible product that I could offer to someone to help them improve what they were doing. Fast forward, significant demand, great results from sharing the information that I did. So I share that to say, what are your products and services? What are you passionate about? What is there a demand for that you're organically inclined to do? Sometimes you can be good at something that you don't enjoy, but it doesn't mean you can't monetize it. So think beyond just where you want to spend your time. What can make money for you? And one of the things that I really enjoyed about writing a book is I could slap it up on my website and I'm asleep and I'm getting pings in the middle of the night where people were purchasing my books and products, passive streams of income. So think about those things that you can do that's high impact, low labor intensiveness, low maintenance, that can help to create passive streams of income for you. And it could be different for all of us. And then, are there gaps in society? Are there gaps today? Are there things that some companies do well and others don't that we could benefit from? And then ultimately narrow down, because you're gonna have all these great ideas. I could do this, 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 and this. But ultimately, you're going to want to narrow it down to some extent to be able to focus and get one product out of the door. Get one product out of the door early and let that help you to create more business revenue so that you can recycle that money back into your business to grow your business. And then you can continue to expand the products and services that you offer. And I hope that if you all have questions, please come off mute or chime in the chat if you have any questions that you think I can answer as I'm sharing. So the second strategy, or I guess tip, would be conduct market research. This is very important. If you don't know some of the basics, you might miss some significant opportunities with what you're doing. The product, we just talked about that. Is there a market for your idea? Google it. I went out and Googled college planning books, college, funding books. I went out to Amazon to look to see what their price points were. Who was my competition? Who else is doing what I'm doing? So not only did I offer the books, but then I started hosting webinars and doing speaking events. So now I have a product and a service. So think about how you can complement what you're doing to create multiple opportunities that will help people based on what they need help with, not necessarily just what you want to offer. But you'll have to start listening and talking to individuals to find out, what do you need? And then, who are your potential customers? That's when you want to find out what they need. They will tell you what they need in your space. I found out when I wrote that first book, folks were saying, well, Miss Christie, we got accepted into college, but guess what? Now we don't know how to pay for it. So I figured out, then I need to be talking about the financial implications and how to fund college, which is the reason why college funding strategies, I wish someone had told me, was birthed. So you want to really tap into listening to your customers. Tell people what you want to do. Hey, I'm thinking about launching X, Y, and Z. What do you think? What is it that you see today that you're not seeing other businesses do well? What's missing from their portfolio? And then you want to try to leverage that. And then economic, what is the income range and the employment rate? So as you're doing your research, physical research, get online, find out the demographics in the area you live. If it's a geographically based business, find out the income range of the individuals you're reaching out to, who's more likely to spend money on what you're doing. That'll help you determine your price points and whether or not it makes sense to do what you're doing or to sell that product. Who are your competitors? Very important. In your area, maybe even out of your area. Is what you want to do saturated? Like, oh, I want to open another nail shop. Are there already enough nail shops in your community? Or are you offering something different that most others don't? Are you willing to be a mobile nail shop? Oh no, girlfriend, I'll come to your house, for example. So as you're entering that space, find a way to figure out what other people are doing really well, and more importantly, what they're not. Therein lies the opportunities for you to really, when you're doing your 30-second elevator pitch, to say, you know what, I know there's a lot of X, Y, and Z in this space, but there's only one that does it this way. And that's how you can differentiate yourself. And then pricing. What do customers pay for similar type of products and services today? Now, I had the hardest time with this, particularly not with the books, but with the services when I would go out and speak. And I was like, oh, I'm going to charge $50 an hour. Now I'm up to like $500 an hour. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can't undersell your worth or your value and your time and your capabilities, but you don't want to overprice it either. So how do you strike that balance? Sometimes you go low to build up credibility, to build up a market or demand, a customer base, and then you gradually increase your pricing as the demand starts to increase. But you'll want to start doing research, to start thinking about what's that initial starting point in terms of pricing. And then next, you want to make sure that you pay attention to the requirements. What are those state, local, and federal laws and requirements that govern your business? I know Jonathan will talk a little bit more about it, but he's in financial investment. There are some financial requirements and stipulations and regulations that he has to contend with. If you are in a healthcare or medical environment, there's HIPAA, there's all kind of medical and human protections you have to be mindful of. So depending on what your business is, it is imperative to do the research upfront to know if you need licenses, certifications, other requirements to do business. Now, I added a link here to the SBA website. They have some great information on how to conduct market research that we'll share the slide deck with everyone, and you'll be able to access. So the key point with those first two is you have to think about what you want to do. You need to do the market research so that you can position your business to have a unique business proposition. What makes you uniquely different from all the rest? And I'm sure there are things that make you different, but you got to do a little bit of self-exploration to get to it so that you can articulate it very concisely and clearly to others. Now, the third step is choosing a business structure and a business name. They kind of go hand in hand. And the reason why I like to talk about this is because there are implications to the type of business structure that you choose. It'll affect your day-to-day operations, how you go about filing taxes and your tax liabilities and responsibilities, how you're able to raise money, how you must file paperwork. Some corporations and S Corps, they have annual filing requirements, for example. Some do not. How much of your personal assets are at risk? How much liability or personal liability may be at stake? So it's very important for you to choose a business structure that gives you the right balance with the right legal protections, tax benefits, and other benefits based on what you're doing. And again, the SBA website has some great resources on the different types of structures. And I actually pulled this chart from their website just to give you a sense of the various different type of business structures. You have sole proprietorship. This is where you can be a one-person entity where you have unlimited personal liability. If you're not careful and you have the type of business that could break out someone's skin, if you have a beauty collection of products, for example, and you break someone out and something, God forsaken, something awful happens, then that might hold you personally liable. So wouldn't you want to know that as you're thinking about your business structure, what your products are? You see why you have to have your products, your services, before you start thinking about what the business structure will be. Partnerships, where you have two or more people. There's still some unlimited personal liabilities unless you're structuring yourself as a limited partnership, but there's also personal tax and self-employment tax liabilities as well. So while you might be two or more people who are forming a business, you're still going to be personally liable for some related issues if you have those in your business. Now, limited liability LLC, limited liability company, which is an LLC. I have a LLC, and I also have an S corp. That's why they have a pink asterisk next to them. But this is where you can have one or more individuals who are part of your LLC structure. But here's the good thing: owners are not personally liable. You have some protections from your personal assets, your personal property by forming an LLC. It still can pass through to your personal taxes depending on your personal tax structure and how you're running your LLC. But that's okay as long as you know and you're working with the right financial tax advisors to help guide you through that process. And then you have your corporation, C Corp. One or more individuals can be a part of the C Corp. The owners are not personally liable, but you're not taxed individually. You're going to be taxed as a corporate tax rate instead of an individual personal tax rate. And then you have your S corporation. This is the second business I have. And I'll tell you, one or more people can be a part of an S corp, but no more than 100. So there's a limit. So I guess a corporation, you can have lots of people, over 100. S corp, you cap out at 100. No more than 100 individuals as a part of your S corp. It's a stock corporation, and they all have to be U.S. citizens. Very key. So all those little nuances are important to understand about different business structures. They're not personally liable, which is good. So that if something happens and someone wants to sue your business, your personal finances are not connected to it or your property. But it's also a personal tax filing structure. Lauren, I see your hand raised. Yes.
Hi, I was coming on just to ask, what would maybe be a good use case for a sole proprietorship versus a limited or an LLC? Because if the only difference is not being liable, why would someone want to have a sole proprietorship?
I think part of it is if you believe that you have a low risk kind of an entity where you don't think that there's a high probability of the products and services that you are providing would create a lot of liability. That could be a benefit. Also, they're easy to form. It gives you complete control over your business. And in many cases, you don't have to really even register your business. All the registrations that you would go through with a lot of the other business structure types aren't necessarily required for sole proprietorship. Also, your personal assets and your business assets don't have to be as separate as the other ones are. But again, you're getting the liability, your unlimited personal liability built into that. So it's something that if you say, well, you know what, it's really closely related, my personal and my business, I don't really want to separate all that out yet. You could go that route, but I will tell you, if you ever want to raise money, you can't sell stocks with this one. If you ever want to raise money, venture capitalists, not going to do it. They're not going to touch you if you have personal liability. Anything with personal liability Even with an LLC, it's difficult to raise venture capitalist money with an LLC because they want a way to make sure they're going to get their money back out of your business if they've invested in it. So those are some of the quick and dirty reasons, Lauren. Thank you for the question. Hope that
Thank you
helped.
for the clarification.
Okay, and with the S corporation, one of the reasons why I formed the S corp is because my LLC didn't have the ability. I wanted to create some software systems eventually. I wanted to be able to get investors to buy into my business. And I knew that it would be a little bit more difficult for me to do that with an LLC because a lot of venture capitalists, the first thing I went to this, it was kind of like a speed dating for business where you could pitch your business and have venture capitalists share information. And the first question they asked everyone who pitched was, what's your business structure? Oh, LLC, no, we're not interested because they knew that they would have a difficult time doing business and providing a lot of capital, high value capital in that LLC. But that might not be necessarily something that you need. You might not need a venture capitalist. So don't let that discourage you from starting an LLC. That's why I kept my LLC as well. And then you have the corporation B Corp. One or more individuals can have ownership. The owners are not personally liable, and they also can be taxed at a corporate tax level. And then you have your corporation nonprofits. This is where they're tax exempt. You can have more than one owner. There's no personal liability, but they're tax exempt. They might have corporate profits, but they can't be distributed amongst their members because they are tax exempt and a nonprofit. So they have to utilize those funds differently without feeding it back directly to the owners. So this is just a quick, simple snapshot of the different type of business structures. It's helpful to do a little bit of research to understand more about each one of these outside of the webinar today. But the value here is, and then I'm again giving you the SBA.gov link to learn more about them, is seek out some professional assistance if you need or if you have more questions to understand, hey, I'm thinking about an LLC or S Corp or this type of business, and I really want to make sure that I'm thinking it through based on my product, my services, my risk factor, how I want to be how I don't want to be personally liable, or I do, or how I want to make sure that the personal taxes are separate from my corporate taxes. So think through those things. And I don't say that to be overwhelming, because it doesn't have to be. But I would much prefer you to think about this up front, because let's say if you have a LLC and eventually you want to switch it over to an S Corp, there are ways you have to go about switching it. You can take a business from one business structure. A few of them, you can switch them over to others. But you'll need to do the research as you're picking a business structure to say, as my business needs change and grow, will I be able to easily transition this type of business structure to a different type of business structure without starting a brand new business? So those kind of things I want to encourage you to do some research on to find out. And fourth, create a business plan. Every last one of my books and my products, I always talk about starting with a plan. I don't really do much without having a plan in place, and business is no different. Now, most people, when they think about a business plan, they're like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, it's going to be a lot of work to put together a business plan. No. Because some of the things we've already talked about up to this point are absolutely parts of your business plan, whether you write them down or not. I would encourage you to write them down. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate your business plan. But start with the lean business plan. And you'll see in pink, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but those items you see in pink are the things that I recommend that if you're going to have a smaller, condensed business plan, start with those basics and then continue to grow other aspects into your business plan as you learn more about your business. But a business plan really helps you to describe, what are you doing? What's your business about? What are your products and services? How do you want to earn money? How will you earn money? What does your leadership look like? What's your staff look like? Right now, it could be just you. I'm the CEO, CFO, COO of my business. That's fine initially, but at least start thinking about what that expansive plan as you grow your business, what will be your staffing needs? How will you finance your business? Maybe you're going to invest personally into your business with a business loan from your own personal account. Maybe you have investors who want to help provide seed funding for it, but think about some of those things. How are you going to handle your operations? Who's going to run your website? Who's going to run your accounting system? Those sort of things. Do you need an accounting system? Early on, you might not. Later on, you might find it to be incredibly helpful. But thinking through those things in a plan. And as you try to bring others on board, whether it's a partner or whether it's another entity who you want to invest funding into your business, they're going to say, well, show me your plan. Doesn't have to be overly complicated, but just saying, well, I'm just going to talk it through. It's great to do that, but if you want to be taken serious, you'll have a plan, even if it's a lean plan. And here are the basic segments I think you should have. An executive summary. It's a high-level summary, who you are, what you're about, and what you're selling, all those kind of details. Now, also, your company description. Mine would say something like, Educational Excellence Incorporated is a for-profit organization that's focused on educational and professional training and development for individuals and corporations. It's a woman-owned, minority-owned, woman-owned, small business administration certified business entity. Bam. So it kind of gives a quick snapshot of who you are, what you're about, if you're certified, if there's anything unique, whatever your unique proposition is, put it in your description so that if nobody reads it, they don't read anything else, they know, wow, this sets this entity apart from the next. That market research you did, there's a place for it in your business plan. All those things you learn, who are the competitors, all those things, the economic positioning, your customer footprint, all those things that you did the research on, add that to the market research or market analysis section of your plan. Who's your competition? Pick the top 5, top 10, either it's in your area or just even nationally or globally, depending on what you're doing. Who are those people that you want to track, learn from, pay attention to, and outpace someday from a business standpoint? And then your organization and management, again, have an org chart. You might be filling all the slots on the org chart initially, but maybe you want to eventually grow your business and have a team, have staff. Have a plan for how you're going to organize your business and manage your business. Specify your products and services. How are you going to market and sell for your business? Once you get your business up and going, marketing will become one of the single most important things that a small business can do. People can't buy if they don't know you exist. People can't buy if they don't know you exist. You can have the best widget, service, but if you can't get in front of people in different ways, they won't be able to buy from you. And then customer segmentation. Who's your market? So for my example, the whole college planning and career planning with youth, parents are my big market. Well, why aren't the students your market? Because they don't generally have a lot of money. They're not the ones paying for college. They might help offset college. They might participate in the student loan process, but parents are saving, parents are worried, parents are, the ones like, yo, what can you do to help us? And students might help find scholarships with parents, but parents have a vested interest in making sure that this process goes off smoothly with the minimum amount of money out of pocket. So know who your segmentations are. Schools, high schools would be part of my segmentation. Youth organizations. All those who have a need to help connect students with this information will be part of my unique customer segmentation. And as you think about your products and services, who are you organically narrowing it down, and who's your main market segment or your customer segment that you want to focus on? And then the next one, how are you going to run your business? Are you going to run it through a website? Are you going to connect it to PayPal? Are you going to use a back-end system for accounting? Are you going to have someone to help you with all this great technology if you're not a technology whiz? Maybe you are, but what are the logistics? How are you going to handle your shipping out of your new products? And you want to think those things through. How much is shipping? When do I want to get a business relationship with OfficeMax or FedEx? Those key things that help your business run smoothly. Operations and logistics is about running your business smoothly, effectively, and efficiently so that you can spend the least money out of pocket and get the most profit back. And then your funding sources. Initially, when I started my business, I was funding, and to some extent, I still am putting seed money into my business. When I first got my books published, I paid for my books to get published out of my own pocket. I wrote a check to my business and called it a business loan for tax purposes. Even when I donate my time, I will send myself an invoice as if it was a customer. And then I would zero it out and discount it 100% so that I can track who I donated my time to. So sometimes in the beginning, when you're forming a business, don't be nervous if you're going to have to invest some funds into your business. I would recommend that you track those. Also, there'll come a point where you're going to want to do research. You're going to want to have others join you in this journey, either to partner with you, provide investment funds for you. I'm not going to talk as much about the funding side here, but in Q&A, we may touch on that a bit more. And then your financial projections. How much do you want to make in the first year? So maybe the first year you're like, you know what, if I make 10K in sales, that'll be a red letter day. Maybe it's 100K, maybe it's 5K, maybe it's 1K. Only you can decide that based on your business model. But as you can see, these are the 11 basic components that I would encourage you to have to start your business plan. They'll help to keep you focused and guided. And it should be a evergreen sort of a plan. As you learn more, update it every 3 to 6 months. Oh, I learned some new things. Let me add it to my business plan and save it under a new file name. And then when somebody say, hey, Christy, give me your latest business plan, I don't have to go and try to recreate it again. It's already updated. All right, number 5, register your business. This is key. So now that you have a business name and a business structure, you have a business plan, a general plan in place. How do you make sure you get it registered? You want to choose that structure, as we've already talked about, before you go to register it. Don't do it the other way around. Don't go to the state and say, hey, I want to start a business, let me register. And then you don't even know if you want an LLC or an S corp. That's going to be the first question they ask you. And because, both of our AKA chapters are here in Virginia, we'll use Virginia as an example. When you go to register your business in the state of Virginia, you'll have to go to the Virginia State Corporation Commission, scc.virginia.gov. When you go there, it'll ask you, apply to start a new business or, to create a new business. They're going to ask you, what's your business type? I would have said Invest in Others LLC. What's your business name? I would have said the business type would have been Limited Liability Company. The business name would have been Invest in Others LLC. And then the registered agent, which is me, but this is the person that you authorize to file information, submit your corporation documentation, and manage your corporation commission account for you. Who's your registered agent? Who's going to be handling your business affairs? So for me, with my small business, nobody can handle it better than I can because I know what's going on. And then register with the SEC. To do that, it costs money. That is not free. It's not a lot. When my son started their businesses, I paid their SEC initial fee. I believe it was like $50 for an LLC, $50 to $75 for an LLC, a little bit more for my S corporation. And then each year when you register, when you initially create your register with the SEC, every year, annually, you have to go in and re-register. So that's an annual registration, but it does cost money. Now, the second thing I would encourage you to do, as you're going out to the SEC, let's say you're thinking about your business name. Even before you lock in on a business name, go to this website and search your business with that business name. You'll want to make sure that nobody in Virginia has that same name. So they have a free search engine on the SEC website, and you type in Invest in Others. If you type in Invest in Others now, you should see my business pop up, and you'll know that name is taken. So you'll want to make sure that your business name is not taken. And I would encourage you to put the LLC or Inc. on the end if it's a corporation. Put the right designation at the end of your business name so that you can make sure that it is very self-evident to people what type of business structure you have. But make sure you check before you go to register, because there's nothing worse if you've gotten everything branded out, Invest in Others LLC, only to find out I can't use it because it's already taken. So that's a very important step. Also, you'll want to go to the IRS, Internal Revenue Services. No business will operate in this country without making sure that you have a way to pay your taxes. Well, the good news is you need to go and obtain what they call, either is referred to as a tax identification number or an EIN, an employee identification number. Whenever you're doing business from here on out and people say, well, what's your EIN number, your tax identification number? Your business essentially has its own social security number. That's really what it is. This is the same way you have your social security number that identifies you, your business tax, your personal taxes, and your personal credit. Your business will have its own EIN number or tax ID number to do the same. It is free. I will tell you, I've had friends pay arms and legs of money for a company to set up their S corporation with the state of Virginia and to go to the IRS. It took me 10 minutes online to apply for an EIN number through the IRS website for free. And they were paying $300 to $500. I said, I'm in the wrong business. Only because people didn't know that it was so easy to do. And then if you have products, services, or even your business name that you want to brand, patent, or trademark, highly encourage you to visit the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to make sure that you get the right copyright, infringement, registered trademarks, that sort of thing for your business or your products or services. So the last section I'm going to focus on, and this is really some things that I think all business owners should be doing, whether you currently have a business, to what extent are you doing these things well, and to those who are thinking about starting a business. 2 key categories: finances and budget, and then marketing and branding. From a finance and budget standpoint, start early, create a bank account for your business. Commingling of funds can get you in a lot of trouble, particularly if you're not a sole proprietorship like we just established. Anyone that has corporate or personal tax implications, you want to have different bank accounts, maybe an operating account for your business, maybe a marketing account for your businesses, and maybe a third account, depending on what you're doing with your business. But at a minimum, you definitely want to separate out your personal business and your business account. You don't want to commingle those funds because it makes it much more complicated to try to decipher what expenses, what profits, margins, and bank statements, and all of your reporting requirements when you have everything commingled. So, but when you go to the bank, it depends on the bank, but here's some of the things that I highly encourage you to have with you. Have a copy of that EIN letter. So when you get your EIN number from the IRS, they're going to ask you, they're going to print you out a letter. Have that letter saved on your computer, have it printed out, but have that letter always handy, and always keep up with your EIN number, just like you do your Social Security number. When I'm out, I can always access, I can tell people when I file my state corporation commission, the date of filing, when the date you started your business, people always gonna wanna know that. February 21st, 2021, for example. And then they're gonna wanna know what's your EIN number. So I have those documents with me. When I go to the bank. If you have articles of corporation or business plan, you can call the bank entity ahead of time, which I would suggest because each bank operates a little bit differently. Call the banks ahead of time and ask, hey, I'm interested in opening a business account. What documents will I need? That's the best way to do it. And then make sure you have all of those. And then you want to make sure you have a good process for managing your business expenses and your profits. When I first started selling books, I had this great spreadsheet, and I put how much it cost me to purchase my book from the publisher, how much my selling price was, what my profit margin was. If I were to ship the books via FedEx or whatever, how much would it be? So that I know exactly how much per item I would make off of my products or services. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated, but don't just wing it and hope you make money and you have no way to account for your profit margin and how much you're spending. I have a website. I have a self-accounting software system. I have a few things that I pay for monthly for my business. So I have on my spreadsheet where I keep all of my expenses. I have a business section, and all those monthly expenses for my business, I put those on there, when they're due, when they have to be paid, what accounts they come from, and when they actually get paid. So have some sort of process that works for you to keep you organized so that you don't have to try to, scramble to figure out how your business is operating. Have your products and services. We've talked about that. Your manufacturers. If you have a physical product, who's your manufacturers? Who are your suppliers? Make sure you keep a list of those. Make sure you're negotiating with them the best rates you can get. An accounting system. One of the ones that I use, and this is just an example, but there are many out there, but I use Intuit QuickBooks. Why? Because my CPA can leverage my files from it easily. Why? Because I use TurboTax, which is still affiliated with Intuit. My CPA has her software that integrates well with it. So I can integrate, you can do payroll from this QuickBooks, you can do invoicing. It's a great way to manage. It'll actually print out your profit loss statements, balance sheets based on what you put into it. So obviously it's only going to put out good information if you put good information in it. But find some sort of accounting mechanism. I think I pay like maybe $75 a month for Intuit QuickBooks. And just, all transparency, it could be, you could pay more depending on what you need, or maybe a little bit less, but it's not really a heavy lift in terms of that. And I would highly think about, as you grow your business, grow your team, you will want to have a CPA or a financial advisor or legal advisor to give you some better strategies on how to protect yourself, your business, your finances, and make sure you're compliant with the law. And then from a branding and marketing standpoint, please take the time to brand your business. This is how people differentiate you from others. Have a logo. What's your color scheme? One of my color schemes for one of my businesses is black, pink, green, and white. And the other one is black, green, and gold. And everything I do are in those same palettes with my branding on everything for my business. And then we talked about it earlier, have a website presence if that is appropriate and applicable for you. But if you don't have a website presence, think about why not. And if you think you should, figure out how to. One of the things that I've helped a number of my friends do, because I'm a techie person and I just enjoy doing it, is helping them to create their small business websites. But there's a lot of folks out there who could help you create a really simple, clean, classy, professional website for little to nothing. One resource, Fiverr, Fiverr, they have they have graphic designers, they have website developers. If you put in Fiverr and you go and you put in a need you can have them create your logo, you can have them create a website for you and more. But there's all kind of small businesses or freelancers who can help you to not go broke creating those things for yourself if you're not really that savvy. Have a social media presence. I'm on TikTok. I've realized after year 2 of business, most of the students I'm trying to reach with my tips are on TikTok. So I'm not on there talking about anything but college planning, college funding, career type stuff. But go to where the people are that you're trying to reach. If you need to get to Twitter or Instagram, well, Miss Christie, I don't care for Twitter. I ain't on no Twitter. I don't care. I don't have a reason to personally use it. This ain't about you. This is about growing your business. And going back to a tip I said earlier, you can't make money if people can't find you. How will people find you? So think that through in your marketing and branding strategy. Canva, it is a software application. I absolutely love it. It's my best friend. I pay maybe $10.99 a month for a pro version. And it has all kind of templates for flyers, banners, agendas, you name it, business plans, all kinds of stuff, templates built into it. And all you have to do is change the color palettes and put your information in it. So if you want, and I always like to share with people, use resources that help you to do things smarter, faster, more efficiently. So I would offer up Canva. Fiverr, I already talked about Fiverr. And then considering adding a graphic designer, someone who has marketing and branding expertise to your team, a web developer, for example, or even a software developer if you want to get into that AI space or create small applications. And let me know, reach out to me and others, but I may have some people within my network that I'd be happy to share with you who could help you with that. So those are some of the basic tips to starting your own business that I absolutely want to share with you. today. Now, I will tell you this, as you make the decision or already have made the decision to become an entrepreneur, it's very important that you decide upfront if you want to actually have a business or a hobby. Because as you do that, how much time and energy you put into your business will be a direct reflection of the outcomes you get out of your business, the results, the profits, the revenue. And so it's going to require you to put in effort. I will tell you, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart, but it's also not as complicated and overwhelming as it might appear to be. Think about what success looks like for you, build that into your business plan, and keep your plan effective but simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can start with bullet points for each one of those sections. Maybe later on it grows into a paragraph or a chart, but don't let the process overwhelm you from getting started. And lastly, seek assistance and leverage your networks. There are all kinds of individuals who can help you in this process. And so I would highly encourage you to leverage the individuals who could be a part of your team, other business owners who also have expertise and insights that they can share you from things that they've learned in the past. Even consider getting a business mentor. I just recently am in the market of a business mentor to help grow my business at a faster rate and learn and leverage from some of the resources they have. But leverage those sort of capabilities and partnerships as you're moving forward. So with that being said, thank you. And I don't know if there are any questions, but Dr. Presley, I'm going to turn it over to you for 1 second to tee up the panel discussion. So if you have your questions, hold those for the panel discussion. We'll be happy to talk more. And I need to grab my charger before my laptop dies. So Dr. Presley.
Yes, please do that. So any questions come to mind about businesses? We are excited to have Jonathan Wright on as well. I will give an announcement that Ms. Alyssa Sheard is not able to make it today. So we will not have her as a panelist today. So we will try to invite her back at a later date. But with no further ado, Mr. Wright, would you mind introducing yourself, please, and give us a little bit about your expertise as it is to starting a business?
Sure, absolutely. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been asked to come several times to support this organization, which is fantastic. I know many of you personally. You go to my church, First Mount Zion Baptist Church, or we're in different circles together. So it's fantastic to see everybody on this Sunday. So a little bit about my background. So I started off, working on Wall Street. I was an investment banker. I quickly learned it was not for me. So I decided to move back to the Northern Virginia area, went to Hampton University, also got my executive MBA from Maryland College Park, worked in industry, Northrop Grumman, several companies, but ended up working in the government. And so worked my way up through the government, now support small business office. So I'm here for two capacities. So I'm a financial advisor, but I'm also in the office as Secretary of Defense for small business. And so I run two portfolios there. So we really support all the DoD agencies as it relates to small businesses as well. So I've been a financial advisor for 10 years, and I just recently decided to launch my own practice. And so I'll be doing that literally next month. So the company will be Right Time Financial LLC. So a little nervous. All these things that we were talking about, Dr. Christie, you were talking about, was fantastic because there was a lot of things that I was going through personally. And I learned some lessons along that way. I'll share some of those lessons with you. But the one thing that I would say when you're first starting out with your business, your domain name. So making sure that you go and make sure that the domain name, like you might have this great name for your company, and you go and set it up, do the LLC, do the tax structure, corporate structure, things of that nature. And then you find out that the domain name is taken. Then it's like, so you got to go back to the drawing board. It's like, oh, I can't use that name. Or if you do use the name, then it's not going to match your website. So then you have to do all these deviations to it. So you definitely highly advise you do all those things before you start spending all this money. Because I spent $500 before I figured that out, on different names, and I should have been looking in synchronizing all that research. Also, the patent and trade is very important too. So you got to go back and search that, making sure that the logo that you want to use is not taken or could be a conflict where somebody can come after you and try to sue you. So I've seen that happen. So I went to a patent and trademark attorney, and they'll do those searches for you. But it's gonna cost some money. So you got to have some money set aside for all these things that you want to do. And that's the other thing, you want to have your budget set for what you think you're going to need. Do your research first, have your budget before you start just spending money. And then you'll find quickly before you even made a dime, you're up over 10 grand. And you're like, oh, hold on, let me think about this for a second. This is what I want to do. So that's very, very key. But the domain name, I will stress the importance of doing that. Like GoDaddy.com, that's a great source, but there's others that are out there as well. And you could do a quick search. And I also learned, even if it's taken, there's people that are willing to sell it to you. So, but again, that's going to cost money. So I know there's one name I was looking at, and it was over 2 grand, and they said that was cheap. So, and usually the domain name is like $10, $15, and it's not that expensive. But if you want a .com, I found that there's a lot of people out there that just will buy up common names of .coms just so that they can sell. That's a whole nother business. I didn't even realize that. And so people are like, hey, I'm not even going to start a company with this name, but I'll sell it to you. And, some were $10, $15, $20,000 for a domain name. So just be very, very mindful of that. And I know we're going to go into some questions, so I'll pause there because I could talk all day about this.
Thank you so very much for your insight. Yes, I have a website as well. I didn't tell everyone that, but I am also a small business owner and in search of opening another business or another branch of my business. And that is true, Jonathan, that the names that I wanted with .com or .net, they were expensive. I had to go back to the drawing board before I bought any t-shirts with my name on it, before I invested in the money to pay the trademark attorney, all of that, because once you pay them and you say, this is my name, they're going to go into, this is what we're going to do for you. And then if you have to change it, that's another fee. So please be aware of your searches and be mindful of knowing that you have to do a little research before you finalize some of these things and put it in full black and white print. So it's not in conflict of other people. And like he said, you're spending money and some things you can't use because it's already taken by other people. And we're going to segue right into the panelist discussion. And so I would ask both of you, why did you decide to start a business? I know you said that you worked in corporate America for a while, and you're still working, but you're starting your own thing. So why start your own thing?
Ownership.
Okay.
Ownership. I mean, to have your own, you don't have right now I'm kind of in 2 worlds. So
okay.
Boss that I have, but it's exhilarating to have your own where you don't have to answer to anybody. You can be creative. You can actually address a need that you feel passionate about. And that was really key for me, where it doesn't feel like work. And so finding something that I can transition to after my 9-to-5 that feels like I'm really making an impact. It just so happens that in my day job, working with small businesses, I'm still making an impact. So all day I'm making an impact. So it's great. But there was a scenario where I wasn't working in small business and I was just working in the government, and I didn't have that same feeling. So I think for me, it's solving problems. I like to be challenged. I like to give people opportunities. And then when I know something good, I want to share it with other people because I want to close the wealth gap. So that was really key for me.
Thank you so very much. Christy.
I would say echo everything that Jonathan just said. And I wanted to leave a legacy for my sons. I wanted them to see that our people, we're smart, we're brilliant, we're talented, we're capable, and we have to continue to put things, business opportunities, and build wealth and put them into motion for generations to come. And then also, I believe it's important to have more than one stream of income. Even if I had my own business and that's all I did, I would probably still be diversified in some way, form, or fashion so that you don't have all of your eggs in one basket. I worked in the federal government too up until COVID. March of 2020, I went back to the private sector, spent 12 years in federal service. So I was there during that glorious government shutdown, just a few years right before we shut down for COVID. And I remember sitting at home thinking, never again in life will I be in a situation where I'm relying on a single entity to make sure me and my family is taken care of. And that was important. And then I did not just want to start a business. I wanted to do something, like Jonathan said, to make a difference. Has to be bigger than me. It has to be impactful. Now, I'll tell you, the conundrum with that is that when I first started my business, I wanted to give everything away. I was so passionate about helping. And so as business owners, we all have to be careful that we don't undervalue and devalue our worth because we have a heart of gold and we want to give it all away. And sometimes people have an expectation that you are going to be the cheapest or the freest. And so you get into the place where you have to have these conversations like, no, this is a legitimate business and I cannot give everything away for free, although that might be a ministry. So I do keep a portion of what I do for donations and charitable efforts. That's always going to be a part of what I do. But then the other part of it is we have to be able to step into it and make sure that we command what we're worth. Everybody else is doing it and their products and services aren't even that great of quality. And I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also you have to be able to sustain it, because if you give everything away, that's not sustainable.
Exactly.
Because what you giving it all away, then you have nothing to sustain the business itself. Excellent. So what are the most challenging parts of being an entrepreneur?
I think for me is time management. So it's really like, no, you don't, like, again, you don't, the beauty is you don't have a boss.
Mm-hmm.
The downside is you don't have a boss too.
Right.
Who's
checking?
Yeah, it's double-edged sword, directing you and saying, hey, all right, these are the objectives, these are things we need to accomplish. Here's our game plan for the day. And some people need that. Like, right. I'm finding that out real quickly as I'm bringing people into the business. I'm thinking they're like me, just go. But they like go is like, what is it? Where do I go? They need direction, they need guidance. So I think from that standpoint, you got to be very organized, and you also got to really understand what your strengths and weaknesses are as an individual, and then find other people who can fill those gaps quickly.
Oh, yes.
So I think those are like really critical things. And then also making sure that you, from a financial perspective, like you understand how to manage money, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you don't know how to manage it and spend it, then it's like you out of business in year one, or you even got started. And get your personal finances in order first before you can start a business. Like if you don't have that together, then how are you going to start managing multi-millions of dollars and you don't got your household together? So that financial plan is going to be key.
All right.
Great points. And I would add, one of the challenges for me is too many ideas. And sometimes you could have so many things you want to do that you have to be careful that you don't get so schizophrenic. I call it, I have the schizophrenic thing where I'm like moving in so many different directions at one time. I have to say, let's try to focus, find focus, figure out that next thing that you can do well and execute it and get it done. So I had to keep reminding myself, don't let perfection get in the way of progress. So I'm a professional troublemaker, right? So all my friends, either they will tell you, those that are close to me, that I'm going to push, I'm going to nudge, I'm going to, help us to grow collectively. And so I've had a friend or two of mine who started a business, and weeks would go by and I was like, well, where are you? My best friend, she just started a shea butter collection business. It's phenomenal, by the way. And I kept saying, well, why aren't you, what's the business name? And why aren't you getting it, the website up yet? Where are we with this? And she kept saying, well, I want to get this tweak first, and I want to get this tweak. And I had to keep reminding her, we cannot let perfection get in the way of progress. You want it to be structured well, yes. I'm not saying rush it, but there's a thin line between a failure to launch and really just putting yourself out there, at least with one thing first. So having some focus is going to be important. Not feeling like everything has to be perfect before people will go to your website and buy. Now her website is actually up and function. I'm going to actually put it in the chat just to kind of show you. Her website got built in a day, y'all. She has over 18 products on her website. Is she still perfecting what she's doing? Sure she is, but she can take sales. So that means that you can make money, to generate money, to reinvest money back into your business. Why? Because she didn't wait for everything to be perfect, but it's functional. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the key things that I would say. I would agree with Jonathan wholeheartedly. Make sure that you are organized, and going back to the whole, make sure your basic infrastructure is in place. Make sure your infrastructure is in place with your finance piece, how you're deciding your pricing. Your pricing will be important if you want to make a profit. And with my girlfriend with the shea butter collection, one of the things I keep telling her is, hey, look, if you're selling it for X dollars, you can't spend more than that on the products. You're losing money. So you have to understand the basics and make sure that you have infrastructure in place to help you to account for what you're bringing in, what you're putting out, and that you have that organized approach to your money matters. And then lastly, I would say networking. I'm an introvert. Most people don't think so, but I'm an introvert. Mm-hmm. So I'm an engineer and an introvert by trade on purpose, because I knew that if somebody tried to put me in an organic sales position, I'm falling flat. Now, I probably could do it with a lot of coaching, but it was going to be probably more work than it was worth to anybody. But I'm falling flat because my ability, my desire to network and be out there in front of people and convince them of what I'm doing was not there. So I knew that I had to create something that I didn't have to convince people of. It would sell itself. So you have to know your personality, and you have to be able to network. I can't hide behind being an introvert. I have to be able to say, you know what, Christy, closed mouths don't get fed. You got to be able to go out and say, let me pick on somebody. Hey, Dr. Baker, I know you're in the educational system, and we know these school counselors are overworked. Let me help you with my ... to help these kids get into college and graduate debt-free. 2 sentences, but I caught her attention. So you have to be able to articulate and communicate and build networks and partnerships with folks to be able to advance your business efforts. I met some phenomenal people that way who are in my network now, who I'm continuing to leverage in different ways just because of a 5-minute, 2-second, 30-second conversation.
And
So go ahead, Jonathan.
One thing I would add to that networking piece, social media. Like, so you don't even have to talk to anybody. Like, as long as you can type. Like this morning, every morning, I wake up 5:30 to 6. That's my networking time. I'm meeting all types of people at 5:30, 6 in the morning, and they chatting with me back, so they up. So these are high performing people, and we're connecting. I meet so many people on LinkedIn. You make so many connections, people that you would never have the ability to meet face to face, most likely to get into those circles. And you'll be surprised. They'll reach back out to you if you provide some type of value. It's not always about what you can get from them. It's more about what I can do for them to help them get to the next level. And they'll respond real quickly. You'll build a connection.
All right. So I'm going to recap just so everybody put it down, write it down if you need to take some notes. I forgot to say that at the top of the hour. You need to take some notes. There's some good stuff in here today. So networking Even if you are an introvert, networking, you can send out some emails, reach out to some people. I saw on the tips, you need to find out who your customers are. You know who your customers are, who your consumers are. If you're working with teens, the parents are going to be the ones to buy the products, right? If you're working with teens, there's schools and organizations. If you're working with people, find your people, find the people, research, do a market analysis. Try not to spend money that you can't get back. Please take notes. Please take notes. Websites. I saw a couple of websites in the chat. If you would like, because we want to share and share alike. Post your business website. I saw some people say, yeah, they got a website. Put it in the chat. Let's share. Information is powerful. All right, let's rock and roll. All right, Jonathan, can you tell us why it is important to form a team? We sort of talked about that a little bit. Why is it important to form a team of professionals to sort of guide you, to consult you as you start your business, to grow your business, and who should be on that team?
Yes, that's key. That's key for me is knowing what you don't know, but then knowing people who know what you don't know. And so that was one of the things I learned in business school real quickly. Everybody had different disciplines, but when we all came together, we knew a lot. And so I was like, all right, well, I need to find out, all right, what am I good at? Or even things I like to do and what I don't like to do. The things I don't like to do, I'm gonna outsource it. So you got to start finding those people in those areas. So I wrote down a few that came to mind that I had to reach out to. Business consultant is very key. Finding the right one, though, find the right business consultant that knows your industry.
Mm-hmm.
They can understand how your business works, because all business consultants are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
CPA, definitely. Consult a CPA before you create your business structure, because they will cause tax issues for you if you do not. I might got an echo somewhere.
Oh, there we go. We fixed it.
Financial planner. And again, all financial planners are not created equal. So you want to find one that understands and works with business owners, but can also look at your personal finances and is more comprehensive in nature, not just focused on investments, not just focused on life insurance. It's comprehensive, or you're going to have to outsource that within different categories of financial planning. A lot of people don't realize that, like, oh, I got a financial advisor. Well, they only specialize in investments. So they're not going to help you on the legacy side. They're not going to help you on putting together your business strategy in terms of how that's going to work, your budget. They're not going to take time to educate you. So you definitely have to make sure you do a little bit more research on the financial planning side. Marketing, web design, you covered that. Estate planner, very key from a legacy perspective, if that's important to you. Your lawyer and different types of lawyers specialize in different areas, so that's key. Your tech team, that's an area that I'm not strong in at all. So I'm gonna outsource anything technology, anything web design. I know what I want, but I don't know how to do it. So, but I know somebody got to do it for me. So I'm just gonna have to pay for it, and I'm fine with that. Realtor, if you need space, like leasing space, you want to have a realtor so they can find you space in the area that you think is high traffic and it's going to drive people to where you're going to be located. Social media team, that's another area that I'm not going to focus. I know it's important, but I'm not going to do that. So somebody who's going to post for me, going to do my flyers, who's going to do all of that. And your branding team. So I just hired a branding team to do my professional headshots.
All right, now.
Your lifestyle pictures and things of that nature. So your branding team, critical.
Let's talk about the professional headshots. Let me pivot and say one of my pet peeves as a professional, whether you're a business owner, potential or aspiring one or not, but everybody should have a professional headshot. At any time, someone could say, hey, shoot me your CV, shoot me your capability statement for your business or your business plan or X, Y, or Z, your resume. Everybody should have a professional headshot. Would you agree, Jonathan?
Absolutely, yes.
So if you haven't, so when you mentioned, and Jonathan, follow up to your branding team. So your branding team, you have a photographer, I'm assuming, in that mix who's going to help create that, and others can leverage those photos.
Yeah, and a videographer too. So in my case, they're one and the same. So they'll do both. So they'll do my YouTube channel and making sure that I have those short clips,
Mm-hmm.
how-to videos and things of that nature, because you want to start getting recognition on social media, start getting your likes and your hits and things of that nature. So that's got to be key. And then also on the branding side, I didn't know was so much involved in it. When they gave me the proposal, they're like, all right, what you're going to wear, what's your color scheme, how's it going to match with your website? I don't know any of that. Just tell me what to wear and I'll be there. But they want your input because they want to know who you are as a person and what your brand is, you know, in terms of, because it's going to be there for a while. And your first impression when people go to your site, I mean, it's got to be clean. And so that's, my site is not live yet. So I'm very particular about certain things. And so we taking our time, but it will be live in the next 2 weeks. But all those things are important. You're going to have to spend some money. I'm just telling you. So you're going to have a budget of what you're going to spend for all of this, because it can add up really, really quickly in terms of before you even made a dime.
But I do want to add, Dr. Presley, real quick about it's going to cost you some money. I want to piggyback off of that. A lot of small businesses think that you have to, it depends on where you are in the process. And I will be honest, during COVID, I challenged both of my sons. They had too much free time. They were in school in college, but they were sleeping in till 3 in the afternoon and then waking up at 3 o'clock talking about what's for breakfast. And I said, we need to have a family meeting and figure out how else y'all can use y'all time more effectively. So I challenged them both to start their own businesses. So my 20-year-old has a photography business and my 22-year-old has a clothing brand, Prolific Streetwear and camera vivid shots or something. But my whole point with that is, you might not be able to, I wanted them to start a business. They both have website presences too. They both have LLCs and they both are registered with their EIN number. So the basics, they went through those same basic steps we talked about already as a 20 and a 22-year-old. Now, what they didn't have is a lot of capital, but what they do have is a lot of novice individuals with great talent. So what happens if you're a small business and you can't afford full teams yet, but you know young people who you could give $50 to and they'll design you a logo?
Or help you pick out some clothes as a stylist and tell you what look good on you.
Or a 20-year-old who takes great pictures to get you started. Now, as you elevate and grow your business, then your level of quality and, you know, those sort of things will grow with your business. But I don't want anybody to be discouraged to think that you've got to go broke initially. Pace yourself, have a budget like Jonathan said, but have someone design your logo, figure out what your color scheme is, get you a student who, make it an internship for them. If you don't have a lot of money, use what you do have. And that's the experience. A lot of college students need experience. They need internships. You can give them an internship and they can do work for you while you're growing your business, and you tell them what you want and give them an opportunity to shine. So I just wanted to underscore, you don't necessarily, the things you need to spend money on, the legal, you know, requirements, some of those things that I'm not out, don't outsource that to no young person, y'all. But those things that you can, and it's a lot of creativity and how that could work for you and your wallet. Leverage those young people. They're highly talented and they have way more time and more capabilities than we sometimes tap into.
Christy, one thing I would add to that, Fiverr. You mentioned that earlier, but Fiverr is real clutch. You can get some quality product from working with them, and they're quick too. They'll turn stuff around in like 2 days. So that was real clutch for me. And also the barter system. So I use this, I exchange my services, their services. So we cut costs that way and we both benefited. So you can find creative ways to get certain things done if you have a value proposition for that individual that has a capability that you need.
I'll give you a perfect example. That website, ShayButter.com, ShayNaked.com, my girlfriend's website. I have every last one of her shea butters in my collection. She uses me as her guinea pig as she creates her new products. I get them all for free. Why? I helped her create her website, the bartering system. So great website, great products, $0 exchange, with the
Mhm.
exception of, the website, monthly website subscription fee and the domain name. But those are the kind of things. So how can you leverage and be of value to someone else and have them do the same? I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're talking about funds. Haha. What are some ways in which small businesses can get funded?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of different ways, and I'll tell you, Black-owned small businesses are the least funded businesses in the United States. I'll say a couple of key things, and Jonathan, definitely jump in. Who's the single largest employer in the United States? The federal government.
Mhm.
Federal government is the single largest employer in the United States. Who spends the most, almost 4 times more than any other country in defense spending? The U.S. Federal Defense, Department of Defense. So I say all that to say, in terms of where you can look for clients and funding sources, grants are a great way. There are nonprofit grants, there are for-profit grants, there are a number of, and this is where the whole federal government feeds into the conversation. It's not the only funding source. Banks can offer funding, loans, financial institutions can offer loans to small businesses. The federal government has given funding to small businesses in many different capacities. So those are great sources. You have your individual entities, angel investors who want to just give money but not really get involved in the day-to-day operations of what you're doing. And then you have venture capitalists who maybe have a great idea and they're like, you know what, this is going to blow up. Great product or service, we want to invest in it. So there's a lot of different investment sources. Sometimes it's your family. I'll be honest. Sometimes it's your family helping you as you're getting started too. Sometimes you are your own funding source at times. But they're out there is one of the key things. And depending on what you're doing, I would just suggest that you do a little bit of basic research and try to find out what others are doing in a similar way that you're doing and find out how it's working for them and what kind of entities were willing to give them a chance with a similar type of business and business structure. Jonathan, I'm sure you have some great insights on this.
No, I mean, you hit a lot of them. One of the things I would just caution when you're looking at debt versus equity funding, from an equity perspective, making sure that you have the right valuation for your company. And that's going to involve someone who knows what they're doing that can actually value your company so you don't give away too much equity. Because you got to think the private equity, venture capital, they have whole teams analyzing your business before they invest. And so their objective is to get the most equity out of your business, in return for, the capital that they're providing. So you don't want to give away the farm if you don't know what you're doing. So you want to make sure of that. And then from a debt perspective, making sure you understand the interest rate environment, because that's going to drive your cost of capital up, which is going to impact your profit margins. And so you want to make sure you're understanding the totality of your business and how you're funding it. In addition to, are you able to pass that cost on to your client or your customer? Because if you're not, you're going to be eating that out of your profit just to pay back debt, to fund your business. So that's where your financial team should come into play before you make any types of decisions, and also understanding how much capital and your burn rate. Because you get these loans, you give up equity, and then you burn all the money in 12 months, then you back trying to get more debt. So you got to really understand your financial projections so that your burn rate doesn't catch up with you, and now you're in the same position you were 12 months ago.
All right, all right. That is some good stuff.
I'm so glad I went before Jonathan on that one. That's some great stuff.
Burn rates, you got to know your burn rate because you burn through your money you don't have anymore. Okay. All right. So why is it important? We sort of talked about keeping them separate, but why is it important to keep the personal and the business finances separate?
I mean, really, your accountant's gonna love you, one, your CPA, because at the tax time, you know, they want to keep everything clean. And so when I give my CPA, she loves me to death. She's like, you're the most organized person I've dealt with in 20 years. It's because I track every expenditure for the last 10 years of my life. Like I know every expenditure that I spent personally and business-wise. Now that gets on my wife's nerves though, because she's like, I'm not doing that. But you know, so that's just, you got, if you're gonna be in business, you gotta be the CFO of your household and also the CFO of your business initially until you can hire somebody. So if you know yourself and you're not tracking your expenses and you just kind of spending money because you know money's there, it's gonna come in, we'll worry about it later. You know, it's gonna be hard in your business to do that, to keep that same mentality. You're really gonna have to keep track of your finances, especially if you're trying to go get funding and you're trying to be attracted to a bank or an investor. They're gonna want to know all these numbers, what your books look like. QuickBooks is really a great source to start off with, and it's inexpensive. So that's a great way, but you still got to put some effort in to categorize your expenses and make sure they're going in the right buckets. But if you don't like doing that, hire somebody. There's bookkeepers out there. There's people that would do this gladly for a fee. So I would say definitely from the beginning, keep all your finances separate. If you're already in business and they're already commingled, then we need to draw a line in the sand and say like, all right, from this day going forward, we're going to create separate accounts. Keep everything segregated as much as possible.
All right, all right. So from a business standpoint, from the tax standpoint, it is wise to keep them separately. All right.
Well, one other thing I'll add to that, because this is very important too. So for your budgeting, so if you don't have any actuals documented, it's really hard to budget for the next year. You don't see, you can't do any trend analysis without any breakout of what your expenditures are, so you can be strategic and really start cutting costs in different areas. So if you see your marketing is so high, and you're like, man, I'm not getting a return on investment on my marketing. Let me be more strategic about how I spend those dollars.
Okay.
You have no idea what you spent your money on in marketing, then how do you do that? How do you even have that conversation?
So it helps you plan for the next year, how to build as well. And maybe to keep you might want to rearrange your marketing funds. What if that marketing strategy is not bringing in the revenue from what you're spending, is what I'm hearing you saying? You might want to change that plan.
Right.
Okay. And again, we want to maximize our money, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. All right. Do I want to open it up? Any questions from the participants here? You can put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. Jennifer.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question for both presenters. How do you measure success? That's what I would like to know. Thanks.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because I think success is going to look different for every business. And it looks different in year one than it does in year 5 and year 10. Generally speaking, some of the bottom line results of your business: are you making a profit? Or your products? Let's go back to the basics. Do you have a good understanding of who your customers are? Do you have a means to drive your customers to you? So looking at basic analytics in different areas, if you look at your business plan, for example, and you map some very simplistic goals to it, it'll give you a good sense holistically of where you're going. So for example, if you have a whole segmentation for your customers in your business plan, and you're looking, okay, I had 2 customers when I started. By the end of the year, I had sales or new X number of new customers. That's growth. Or if you're looking at your bottom line results, I spent X amount this year in business expenses, but let's just say I spent $3K in business expenses, but I made $12K this year. I actually turned a profit versus I lost funds this year. So that could measure success. Depending on what you're doing, it could be A matter of how your marketing campaigns and strategies work. Are you driving people to your website? Are you driving them to inquire about your business? Are you getting new clients, new sales, that sort of thing? So it really just depends on you. I also measure the success in my business by the goals that I have. Like at the beginning of the year, me and my sons, we sit down and we talk about our business goals for the year. And no matter sometimes as a new entrepreneur, the financial goals won't tell the full story of your success. So at the end of the year, so every year we start out with our goals, and at the end of the year, we talk about the growth that we've had individually. How much did we learn? I mean, I have a 22-year-old now who knows how to negotiate with manufacturers from all over the world, who knows how to build a marketing strategy, who's investing in crypto and I'm getting my stock tips from. Those are intangible things. So don't forget the intangibles as you learn, as you grow your business. It could also be a matter of, hey, this will be the first year that I'm claiming it, I will have a business mentor. That's success for me, because the things that I think I measure success by, sure, they're the bottom line results, but they're also those game-changing actions and activities or things that I'm learning or people that I'm meeting that's going to help grow my business to the next level. So really, it's really just dependent upon the individual and where you're starting from and what that growth looks like for you, and how much that growth and maturity is with what you're doing, and how much you're learning, you're gaining, things that you're developing that nobody can take from you. That's only going to help advance your business. I see all those as measures of success.
I think those are great points. I think for me, it's I think of it from the context of a financial planning perspective. So we do short-term goals, 1 to 3 years. We do midterm, 3 to 7. Then we do long-term, 7+. And then within each of those buckets, we use the SMART criteria, right? So just like with your job, you have these goals you have to do at the beginning of the year, and specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So then really breaking those goals out into those buckets and then reviewing those. I do a 6-month view, and then we do a 12-month view. And it doesn't all have to be monetary. To your point, it can just be, I'm going to establish, my website, okay, great, check mark. So you have these things that are intangible, but are helping you get to your ultimate goal. They all have to tie. So I have all of the goals that are tying and linking to your end of year goal or your mid-range goal or your long-term goal. So they all should be interlinked, and then driving you closer and closer to your ultimate objective. So definitely don't have to do this by yourself. That was one of the things that I learned too, is like getting some other people involved that are invested in your success, and so that you can kind of get some feedback, even if it's not professional necessarily, but somebody who's in your corner who can kind of give you a second look. So I have like my best friends and my mom and my dad, and sometimes I'll reach out to them, and my wife and certain things like that. But that also helps to have those cheerleaders in your corner to kind of help push you along as you're striving towards your goals.
All right, a question from the chat. How do you balance your professional job and working your business?
You want to take that first, Jonathan?
No, don't sleep. So if you sleep in 8 hours, then this is probably not cut out. That's just me. But if you're gonna work a job and you're gonna do the business, you got family time, and you got things to do with the kids, you got activities and all of that. So really structuring your day, like I have to be like every second counts.
Yep.
And Sundays, I'm planning for the week. And my meals, everything is prepped and planned. Like everything is strategic about what I do from the second that I wake up to the time I close my eyes. Every second is accounted for. So, and you got to have that balance. And if you work from home, that helps you, because now you don't have to commute time. So that saves me like 2 hours there. I don't have to go into the Pentagon And on those days I go into the Pentagon, I don't take meetings in the evening. So I already know because that commute time is unpredictable. So just having that understanding of your calendar and then having Calendly or some type of scheduling program. I use Calendly because it's African American owned, which I learned, and I was like, it's a fantastic tool. So I was like, I use that, and then that way you can plan your whole month out, and people can book meetings, and you have availability. And when it gets booked up, then it sends you an alert, so they can't book during that time, so you don't double book, which was an issue that I was having early on. Because I was just like, yeah, I'm available, and I had 5 people for the same time. I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna work. So you had to be very strategic with your time and get an assistant. So I had to hire an assistant, even though, most people think I do the financial advisory full time, but the amount of hours that I put in, they don't realize I still got a 9 to 5, but I just work at a high level with the time that I have. So organization is key, and then hiring people who can help you be organized if you can't do it yourself.
I love what he just said about working at a high level, but managing his time. And I couldn't agree more. Whatever it is important to you, you have to find a way to, time is the one commodity you can't get more of. You can make more money, you can make new friends, you can do all of those great things, but you cannot get time once it's gone. And so I too have a calendar that I put most things on. I share that calendar with my mother and a couple of other folks who try to keep up with me and have difficulty, but they can go to that one place and say, oh, I already see. But I put those things there for that very purpose, because one, I don't like overcommitting, and I don't like wasting time when I'm trying to be effective about the things that I get done. Now I'm at a point, thanks to Dr. Presley, from a conversation we had at a women's workshop where we were talking about wellness and self-care. And I'm learning that I need to block off. Now I block off self-care time on my calendar too. So thinking about that balance between family, work, and just self time, I block off self-care time on that same joint calendar to do just that, to make sure that I don't work myself out of taking care of myself. Very important too. I will also say is there's power in saying yes, and there's power in saying no. No is a complete sentence. There are some things that I traditionally would take on. I'm very careful about who I give access to my time. And I'm not saying that to sound funny or snobbish, but time is the one commodity I can't get more of. I don't have a lot of time for foolery. I don't make a lot of time for foolery. I make time to have fun, but that's different from foolery. And so how I give access to my time is important, because that will help me to decide how to be more deliberate and strategic when I'm in my 9 to 5. I'm going to give deference and due diligence to my 9 to 5. I call that keeping the lights on. Those are the things that help me. Those are enabling. That's an enabling role to help me to be able to free up some capacity to grow my business in my personal time. And so I'm 100% telework. That helps me to some extent to be able to flip one switch off and another switch on when I need to. But I learned how to tell people no. If it's not something that I think is, I just can't say yes to everything. I put it that way. And sometimes I might have to connect them with someone else who could help instead of me. Some things just aren't going to happen. And then there's some things that I traditionally would say no to that I'm now saying yes to for business purposes too. So I'm going to a gala next week. Why? Because I'm trying to get a small business. I'm trying to get a mentor. Well, that individual said, hey, why don't you join us at this gala? Do I really want to go? Not really. It's going to require me to be an extrovert for a couple of hours. But why don't you come to this gala? I want to introduce you to some folks. There's the networking piece. So guess what? You're going, you're networking, get over it, put it on your calendar. Oh, look, I'm free, and planning it out. Where I get into my biggest challenges and overwhelm, when I start overcommitting and I don't manage my calendar well. Because I'm able to block out time for Christy. People say, you're always busy. When do you have time for you? I make time for me, and I'm not available to you, so you would know that I'm available to me. But I create that availability for myself, even as I do it for those other pieces too. And I really do believe that when something is important to you, you will find a way to make it happen. The same way we can sit around and make excuses for ourselves. Take back the time we spend on social media surfing to figure out what everybody else doing with their business, on TikTok laughing. Count up all those hours. Even if you spent 1 additional hour a day growing your business, how much more effective could you be? Something to think about.
I think also,
Absolutely.
I was going to say one last thing on that. It comes down to your drive, your hunger for success. Like your drive and your hunger for success is going to help you in those times when you're so tired, you don't want to do anything. Because you're thinking about now it's legacy. It's not about me. It's about my kids. It's about passing on something. It's about multiple streams of income. It's about my lifestyle that I want to have. It's about those type of things that you're not going to get by watching, Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever, So you got to put that time in, even though you want to watch TV. It's about sacrificing now so that you can have the lifestyle that you want later.
Facts.
Absolutely. Turn off Matlock and Hill Street Blues and all the other people and the Ratchet TV is what I call it. Although sometimes that could be self-soothing and, as she mentioned, some wellness. Some people zone out, but also it just to tap into that part. Sometimes your creativity is quelched if you don't lean into it. If you're doing something else, so you have to lean into the creativity that will also help you grow your business as well. So if you're tired and you're exhausted, then your creativity brain side of your brain is not functioning at the high level we're talking about in order to create those products and to do the research and to get the market analysis so you can be productive in your business. So think about, as we talked about, dividing up your times of self-time, business time. I have it on my calendar, whether I do it or not. And most of the time I do it. I have it on my calendar. I have an alarm set. Work on your business, 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. It is on my calendar. Whether I decide to do some research, whether I reach out and do some connecting, return emails, but it's on my calendar. So calendar organization is extremely important, and having an assistant, that is a game changer. All right. Any other questions from the audience?
While they're thinking of that, health and wealth go hand in hand. So that was one thing I learned too, because I started gaining a lot of weight. I was working all the time and things of that nature. So I had to change your diet. You had to start building in exercise time and do something every day, at least 30 minutes, even if it's just a walk. Take a break, stretch your legs, do yoga, do something. Because what I'm finding is that, clients of mine are doing extremely well in their jobs, but then they want life insurance, they want long-term care, they want all these things which are critical to protecting your wealth and passing on a legacy, and now they don't qualify for it. Or the cost has gone up 3x because,
Right.
their health issues. So that is, it's a direct impact on how hard you're going to have to work.
Absolutely.
Very good point.
One more question from the chat. How do you get your very own people to speak up about Black businesses and not down?
So I'll say this. One, Black, we again, we have the same challenge as I talked about earlier. People need to know we exist. We've got to do a better job of getting out in front. That's why these kind of webinars, anytime we have an opportunity, our sorority has this program right now, or where we wear pink, buy Black, and spend green. And so in an effort to raise more visibility of minority-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses, we have to do our part with helping to promote each other. I've mentioned several small businesses just on this talk today. We all know them. We need to create networks. About a year and a half ago, I created a new networking group called Iron Sharpens Iron. And it was in an effort to bring minorities together to say, Jonathan talked about a team extensively. Well, guess what? We all know people that could be on our team, but we just have to find a way to get connected to each other. The second thing I would say to the not talk down part is, one, ain't nobody else doing that but us. We do that in relationships. We do that publicly in our music. We do that in business. But other folks aren't talking bad about their own entities, their businesses. We need to stop. But I also will underscore it and say we need to raise our level of quality and our level of excellence and our level of customer service. We know that we can't show up the same way everybody else and get the same level of results and reputation support. So we have to do our part. We have to put our money where our mouth is, our reputation. We have to put the quality of what we do. It has to exceed what we get in other places. And that within itself will speak volumes. In the last 3 weeks, I have had 2 news anchors and a radio personality reach out to me for help with their high schoolers who are trying to get into college that I didn't know. Why? Because your reputation is your brand and it precedes you. So the best way I can say, as an entrepreneur and those who are aspiring, manage your brand. If you're good at what you do, you don't almost have to sell yourself much because other people are going to think of you first and they're going to put you out there and refer you just on the quality and the nature of what you bring to the table.
I'm going to not piggyback. I'm just going to add to that. She has mentioned me. Thank you so very much. I was not going to mention myself. However, I will say this. I have several mentors. Christy is one of them as well, but I have several business mentors. And so they put me on blast for not doing the most, which I manage my time, but they put me on blast for not doing the most. But when I do reach out for assistance and help, my team works with me, my networking team, because I only have a staff of 1, me and my assistant. But also, I started a new product line. I put the new product line out there and someone called me. I didn't even advertise it a whole lot. They reached out to me. So on the reputation of what I have on other things. So your name does speak for you. As you can see, I put my name in the chat, FeliciaPresley.com. Check it out. However, there are things that you do and you do well. And if you open up a new line of products or a new service, people say, oh, I know this person, I trust this person, or you by word of mouth. A lot of my customers or consumers or clients come to me by word of mouth. And I don't take everyone as a client either. And so when that happens, I tell people, you were meant to be my client, because I don't take all my clients, because my job, I have a regular job and I have a part-time private practice. So I don't take a lot of people. So that speaks volumes as well. So you have to also be excellent. And I put that in the chat. You have to be excellent at what you do, so people will talk about you. And once they talk about you, the person that's talking down, they are quelched. That voice is quelched. So your shouters, your cheerleaders, your homegirls, your homeboys, they will shout for you and reach out and reach rooms that you don't even know that you're walking in, but your brand, your personality, and your services will walk into those rooms based off of you. They leverage their knowledge of you, right? As well as you being excellent at what you do. So they're putting their reputation on the line, extending themselves for you to talk great about your businesses, talk great about your services. And so that's how we combat that. Oh, this business is not all that. Oh, yes, these businesses are all that. Any other questions? We're almost at time. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get in the pulpit.
I just have to say one more thing about your business, and folks who don't speak well and haters. Let your haters be your motivators, y'all. You're gonna find them in your family. You're gonna find them in your friend groups. You're gonna find them from people who your energy is disturbing their demons because they're not trying, and it's in your positive nature and what you're doing with your success in your business is going to be a direct reflection of the things that they haven't done, chose not to do, or unwilling to do in their own situation. That is none of your business. Your dream, your vision, everybody in your family might not support it the way you do. And guess what? Do not be hurt and upset by that. Keep moving in spite of it. I just had to put that out there.
I want to touch on that. I've been doing this for 10 years and I have an extensive family. I probably only have 3 family members that are clients of mine. And I got over 300 clients and only 3 in my whole family. So at first I was I'm trying to help y'all. But then after that, you can't help everybody. And I realized that. And there's so many people out there that want to work with you, work with them. And the people that don't, you keep moving because there's millions and millions of people out here. So if you only focus on a small segment of that, you got to expand your vision. But this has been great. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Any final words from the panelists?
And no, I just thanks for the opportunity. And I would just encourage, if you have a goal, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, you know how many dreams die in the graveyard, buried with people. Get it out of your head, get it out on paper, get it out, live your reality, and get out here. There's so much that we need to be doing to make a difference. And there's ways that you can monetize it. You don't have to give away everything for free. Nobody else is doing it. We shouldn't have to either. Do your research. Make some networks and connections, get a mentor, and live your reality if you want to be an entrepreneur.
And there are a lot of ways to network. There are different, if you're on social media, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all those other there are advertisements for different networking opportunities in DC, outside of DC. Click on it. They're inviting you. They want to know these businesses. They want to know you. They're trying to network people together. So take an opportunity, take a Thursday afternoon or whenever they have. Some of them are in the evening, some are in the midday, some of them in the daytime. It just depends on who's sponsoring the small business or networking affairs. Go, get your business cards, but go. Exchange business cards with people. Go to different places and talk and network. That's what's important. And with that, thank you all. We will have closing remarks by Christina Henry, the president of OCO.
Well, thank you, Dr. Presley. And what a fabulous, fabulous webinar we have had here today. On behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Omicron Chi Omega Chapter, serving Greater Prince William County, and our sisters in Psi Psi Omega serving Stafford and Fauquier County, we sincerely appreciate your participation today. There's a Latin proverb that I like to quote a lot of times, and it says, by learning you teach, and by teaching you learn. And today we have truly brimmed the benefits of both Dr. Christy Murray and Mr. Jonathan Wright for sharing your expertise with us this afternoon. So just throw in the chat. I'm reading through some of the comments. Great program, very insightful. So thank you two for leaning in your expertise. I personally was taking notes, and I love how you all were talking about, starting a business. It starts with knowing your passion, right? Knowing what you're good at and taking that and building your brand into building something that can be a legacy for not only yourself, but your community. So I love that. I also love how you both talked about, being transparent and knowing the challenges and being able to connect with those within your circle, and building that network is so important to being successful. In the areas that you might not have the strengths, being able to connect with people that are SMEs and mentors to help you build your brand and support your vision and your dreams. So to the attendees today, one thing that I will charge you to do is don't sit on this information. Take this information that you have learned today and share it with your families, your friends, your coworkers, and let's spread that knowledge, and let's continue to learn and teach together. So again, I thank you for your participation. I encourage you to visit our chapter website and our social media pages for additional information on our future events, and I look forward to seeing some of you at those future events. And then again, on behalf of Omicron Chi Omega chapter and Psi Phi Omega chapter, we appreciate your time on this Sunday afternoon, and I wish you a blessed evening. Thank you.